So first I am using this Dollar Tree sign. It is an Easter sign, but don't worry, we are going to be using the back side of it. I'll be using some folk art chalk paint in the color Imperial. I'm only painting the middle section of this sign. I'm not focusing on the bottom and the top just because I am going to go over that later on. This did require 2 coats and I just allowed that to completely dry. And then I also picked up this Mary Decor from Dollar Tree. First, I am going to be using folk art chalk paint in the color Java, and I'm just going to apply this all throughout the entire sign. For this color, this only required 1 coat, and then you just want to allow that to completely dry before moving on. And once that first layer is completely dry, I am just going to grab some petroleum jelly, just putting a generous amount on my paintbrush, and I am just randomly putting that all throughout the sign. As you can tell, it's a little bit shiny. You want it to look like that. And then I'm going to go over it with some Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. For this step, you want to make sure you do have a generous amount of the chalk paint on your paintbrush because you don't want to go over the petroleum jelly too many times. As you could tell, I am going from section to section, and then go ahead and allow that to completely dry. Once dry, I'm using this scraper tool and I'm just going all throughout the sign. And what this is doing is it's taking off some of that chalk paint where you put that petroleum jelly down. This just makes it so much easier to take that chalk paint off without having to wrestle with a sanding block or sandpaper. And it just leaves you with this awesome rustic finish look. I just love this technique. So now let's go ahead and grab that original sign. I'm using some of my famous Dollar Tree adhesive glue, great substitute for E6000, placing that onto the back of the Mary Decor, and then I am mixing it with some hot glue just for a much quicker hold. And then I went ahead and just put it right into the center of where the red is. And I just held that down until the glue was completely adhered. And I also allowed that to completely dry for about 30 minutes or so. Next, I picked up this black and white buffalo check scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. This is what I'm going to be using to cover up the top and the bottom of this sign. So I am just marking it off where I want to cut it, just using my paper cutter just to make sure that I have nice straight lines. And I did do this to 2 pieces just because the scrapbook paper didn't fit the length of the sign. So I just had to do 2 of the same size cutouts, and one of them was just a little bit longer, so I just cut that one in half. You do just want to make sure that you are aligning the squares of the scrapbook paper together. So to adhere this, I'm using some matte finish Mod Podge. I'm not using my mini iron just because this is a smaller surface that I am working on, so I didn't really have to use the iron method. I just placed some of that Mod Podge down, put the scrapbook paper over it, smoothed it out with my fingers, allowed the Mod Podge to completely dry, and then to get rid of any of that excess, I am just using a sanding block. You could also pick these up from Dollar Tree. I'm just sanding in a downwards motion. This gets rid of all of that excess, and it also leaves you with a nice smooth finish. And I just did the same thing to the top part of the sign as well. Just measured out the scrapbook paper to how it will fit. Applied some Mod Podge, put the scrapbook paper right over it, smoothed it out with my fingers, allowed that Mod Podge to completely dry, and then just sanded off any of that excess. Once that was complete, I did just use another layer of Mod Podge to seal and protect the scrapbook paper. And this is just coming out so adorable. I then just created this fluffy bow. I did make a video on how I create my fluffy bows. Go ahead and check that out. I just applied some adhesive glue with a mixture of hot glue on the back of the bow, placed it right at the top center of the sign. And then I also use these little evergreen pieces, just put some hot glue right behind that bow and just stuck those evergreen pieces right behind the bow, held it down until those pieces were completely adhered. And there you go, guys. How adorable did this come out? This was so much fun to create. I hope this inspires you to create your own. If it did, please be sure to sprinkle the love. Thank you guys so much, and I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Bye.